I'm 22 years old and I recently took what some people might call a waste of time. Through my life, I've constantly been stuck to a desk, right? My life has revolved around learning, has revolved around class, has revolved around homework. And, it's become this perpetual cycle where I would work and work and work and work, thinking that I wanted to succeed, or whatever my definition of success was. But in actual fact, what was happening was I was sort of building this perpetual cycle of this fallacy that I was creating for myself, this idea of doing something for the sake of doing it, and never really taking time to stop and take stock of the moment and take stock of my life and, my hobbies, things that I really enjoyed, things that I really wanted to do instead of just wanting to do to, show other people how successful I was, or how good at something I was, or pleasing others, I think is probably the best way to say it. So I took some time out. I went on a year abroad to India. And I mean, when I say took a year out, I really meant I went to India. I didn't just go to India in my head, or I didn't just look at India on a page. I really went. And hot take, I think it's the best thing that I've ever done in my life. Really. And it really gave me some time to dissect my mind. It gave me time to sit with myself. I mean, I was all the way on the other side of the world. Like all the way on the other side of the world, with no friends, 2 family members, in an environment that I've never been in. And there's something to be said about new environments. They really give you time to dissect the mind. And at least that's how I felt. I really got time to sit with my own thoughts and feelings, the actions that I had done, the actions that I wanted to do, and the actions that I was doing and still am. And it's been interesting to reflect upon that and see where my life is now going. Because you see things in a completely different light when you go away for that amount of time. And to such a different place, you really don't know what to make of it initially. You sort of get to see through the bullshit that you get up to in your life. Kind of the ways your mind works when it's around your friends and your family in this really comfortable environment. And what happened, for me at least, what happened was I got to break out of those cycles that I thought I was stuck in. And it was liberating in a way. It was really, really liberating because I got to see the world in a perspective that I'd always dreamt about, but now I was actually living like that. And it was hard. It was tough at first. You get there and you're lonely, and you don't really know what to do with yourself, because for me, I've consumed so much social media and consumed so much in my life. I've never stopped, as I said, to take stock. So I was still stuck in this idea of, what do I do? Do I just consume and let life just kind of pass me by? Or do I stop? Do I sit and try to understand what was going on with me? And that time away from everyone meant that there was no inputs into my life compared to, being back in the UK or being back in your home, and where there is a lot of input. So I found it weird to actually be able to listen to myself. And that's not something that I was always comfortable doing. But now I got to dissect my mind. I got to sit with me in a personal space by myself and kind of like have it out with my own head. And you know, it's interesting that we go through all of that when we're alone, because we're always struggling to deal with loneliness in this modern age, when in reality it would seem that loneliness is what we're potentially comfortable with. Maybe. I was trying too hard to keep in touch with people, like in these relationships that I'd developed. And it was almost like I was like keeping a tether, as I said, you know, these two different lives, this life in the UK, this life in India that I was trying to live in. So I just decided to cut the world off. Cut the world off. I made a point to myself to not contact people. And the relationships I had, all of them, just kind of just fade. And the ones that lived, and the ones that didn't. There was no bad blood. It was more I want to see you eat, I just don't want to see you eat at my table. This Tupac Shakur quote, this Tupac quote that I really, really like and I really, really resonate with. So I was trying to reduce the noise in my life, essentially, but in doing so, I found myself feeling uncomfortable with the lack of noise and the lack of people, you know, the lack of conversations, because I feel like I'm the type of person that really, the conversations energize me. Meeting people that are interesting, having conversations with people, allow me to develop further as a person, because I get to learn more about life and about the world and their experiences, which is kind of what my podcast is on in a bit. So I was so used to the noise from my socials, you know, gossip, arguments, etc., that I never realized what it was like to be truly at peace with myself. So over time, I've come to understand this feeling as I was feeling lonely. And I was lonely with myself because I wasn't really spending quality time in those relationships that I had. I wasn't really engaging with people properly. So I found a new level of gratitude for people, and a new level of gratitude for objects, and a new level of gratitude for experiences in life, which is blunted by the everyday interaction that I had with people. So going away allows me to come back and have this appreciation, which was there previously, but it was sort of dumbed down, and it was really, really diminished. And I just don't want to take that time for granted with others. And I think being in a completely new environment sort of played into that. I was really able to, how do I put it? I was able to be forced into a new environment, right? So this idea of change, and change being an accelerator for growth. I was stuck in my old ways here. And by going to India and by going away from everything and being in a completely new environment, I got to really understand truly, in my perspective, what living life in the moment meant, because I'd never really done it. I thought I knew what it was, but like what really, like, you know, when someone says live life in the moment, what does that even mean? It's a bit like saying, not saying, it's like someone telling you what to do. I don't know what it means to live life in the moment. I know what I think it means, but I didn't really know. So Going away made me have to slow everything down. Like I was running at 100 miles an hour here, like running at 100 miles an hour. And going away allowed me to slow down, slow the world down because I had to, so that I could understand what was going on. Otherwise, I would have got into some sort of mess. I would have had a mental breakdown. You know, India's this sensory overload, and you never really understand what is going on there or how it works. And that takes time. And I thought this idea of time for myself, I had to rush through everything. When in reality, all I needed to do was just take a step back, breathe, and go forward. So I'm not saying that you need to go away for a year to really experience this. You know, especially in the current climate that we're in, we don't have that choice. We don't have the liberty to go and do that. I was lucky enough to go before the world decided to go into a pandemic. But I think consciously taking time to ourselves and not filling it with rubbish is something that we all sort of need to do in some small way. Whether it's, you know, consciously having a coffee, like consciously picking up the mug and drinking it, or whether it's, some people use meditating and breath work, others use, I don't know, swimming or running. I think it's important for everyone, including myself, to find that discipline, because that's the thing that really changed my life.